Most shooters believe practice ammo is just a cheaper version of the real thing. Documented engineering records tell a different story. Manufacturers have spent decades solving mechanical and human performance problems that most shooters never even notice they are facing. The #1 round on this list closes a gap between practice and reality that has quietly shaped how defensive shooters train for years. Here we go. Rank 5. CCI Blazer Brass 9mm Luger. This round earns its place through sheer volume, since it sits on more range shelves across America than almost any other practice load. Manufactured in Lewiston, Idaho, CCI built Blazer Brass under the same corporate umbrella as Speer and Federal, giving the line access to proven bullet engineering without a premium price tag. The load was designed from the ground up as a high-volume training option built for shooters who put hundreds of rounds downrange in a single session. Here is what most people miss about this round. Its protected base full metal jacket construction was engineered around a specific compatibility risk, since copper-plated bullets can shear material inside polygonal rifled barrels found in guns like the Glock. That detail shaped the bullet jacket design directly, protecting both the shooter and the barrel from long-term fouling damage. Blazer Brass fires a 115-grain projectile at 1125 feet per second, generating 323 foot-pounds of muzzle energy from a brass case and boxer primer. Compared against the Winchester 147-grain training load at 950 feet per second, Blazer Brass trades bullet weight for speed, producing a flatter, quicker impulse. This round should never be fired through ported barrels or recoil compensators, since jacket separation becomes a real risk under those conditions. Built purely for range use and reloadable brass economy, Blazer Brass was never intended for defensive carry. The next round on this list controls its own manufacturing process from raw material to finished cartridge. Rank 4. Magtech Target Line 9mm Luger. This round matters because of where it comes from, not just what it costs. Magtech has manufactured ammunition since the 1920s, and the company builds its own brass, primers, and projectiles inside a single facility, rather than outsourcing components to outside suppliers. That level of vertical control gives Magtech tighter oversight over pressure consistency and bullet weight tolerance than many competing training brands achieve. Here is the engineering decision that changed everything for this round. By manufacturing every component in-house, Magtech eliminates the variability that comes from mixing brass, primers, and bullets sourced from different vendors, a practice common among budget ammunition brands. This closed-loop approach keeps chamber pressure and muzzle velocity remarkably consistent from lot to lot, which directly benefits shooters running high-volume training drills where predictable recoil matters. Magtech Target Line drives a 115-grain full metal jacket bullet at 1135 feet per second, producing 329 foot-pounds of muzzle energy. Compared against CCI Blazer Brass at 1125 feet per second, Magtech runs slightly faster while maintaining a nearly identical bullet weight, placing both rounds in the same performance class. One trade-off worth noting is the narrower retail footprint Magtech carries in some regions compared to CCI, making it slightly less available at smaller retailers. This round was engineered purely as a training and target load, built for shooters who value manufacturing consistency during high round count sessions. The next entry on this list was built to match the exact speed of a completely different competition product line. Rank 3. CCI Standard Velocity 22 Long Rifle. This round matters because it collapses the price gap between plinking ammo and match-grade ammo. Introduced as part of the CCI core rimfire lineup, Standard Velocity has served for decades as the entry point for shooters who want dependable accuracy without paying competition prices. It has become a favorite among National Rifle League, 22 competitors, and biathlon shooters who need predictable performance out of an affordable case. Here is what most people miss about this round. CCI engineered Standard Velocity to match the exact muzzle velocity of its own green tag competition load, meaning practice shooters are running the same speed profile that match shooters pay a premium for. That shared velocity specification means the round behaves consistently across a wide range of rifles and pistols, rather than varying wildly the way many bargain rimfire loads do. Standard Velocity sends a 40-grain lead round nose bullet downrange at 1070 feet per second, using a boxer-primed brass case that reloaders and target shooters both rely on. Compared against the CCI mini-mag load running at 1235 feet per second, Standard Velocity trades raw speed for a quieter, more consistent report, which many shooters prefer for extended range sessions. One trade-off is velocity variance between different firearm actions, since some semi-automatic pistols cycle less reliably at this pressure level than dedicated bolt guns. Built as an everyday rimfire training round, Standard Velocity was never intended to compete with dedicated hypervelocity or hunting loads. The next round on this list was engineered to solve a recoil problem that keeps hunters from truly practicing with their own gear. Rank 2. Remington Managed Recoil, 12 gauge. This round matters because recoil, not accuracy, is often the real barrier standing between a hunter and consistent shot placement. Remington built the Managed Recoil line specifically to address the punishing recoil signature of full-power 12-gauge slug and buckshot loads, a factor that discourages many shooters from practicing enough to become proficient. The line spans both rifled slugs and buckshot configurations, giving hunters a matched reduced recoil option across shot types. Here is the engineering decision that changed everything for this shell. Managed recoil technology cuts felt recoil by up to 45% in the rifled slug load and up to 40% in the 8-pellet double-aught buckshot load, without requiring the shooter to switch to a lighter payload. That reduction directly speeds up second shot recovery, letting shooters return to the target faster after the first pull of the trigger. The Managed Recoil slug fires a 1-ounce rifled projectile at 1200 feet per second, delivering effective energy out to 80 yards from a 2 3/4-inch shell. Compared against the Remington full-velocity slug load, which produces roughly 45% more felt recoil for a similar downrange energy figure at typical hunting distances, Managed Recoil sacrifices a portion of raw velocity in exchange for shooter comfort and faster recovery. One trade-off is reduced energy at extended range past 80 yards, where the lower velocity slug loses effectiveness compared to full power loads. This shell was engineered for hunters who need to practice enough with their shotgun to place a confident, ethical shot under real field conditions. The number 1 round on this list solves a problem that has nothing to do with recoil reduction, and everything to do with what happens the moment a shooter switches ammunition types under pressure. You have waited long enough. Here it is. Winchester Train and Defend, 9mm Luger. This system matters because it solves a problem that has nothing to do with cost or manufacturing consistency. It solves a human performance gap. Most shooters practice with one type of ammunition and carry an entirely different one, meaning the felt recoil, muzzle rise, and sight recovery they build through repetition never matches what they will actually experience if they ever need to fire their carry ammunition. Winchester built Train and Defend as a 2-part system rather than a single cartridge. The train load uses a full metal jacket bullet with a prominent letter T stamped on the box, while the Defend load uses a jacketed hollow point bullet with a letter D stamped on the box, and both are engineered to produce nearly identical recoil and velocity out of the same firearm. Here is the engineering decision that changed everything about this approach. Winchester matched the ballistic profile of both loads so closely that a shooter transitioning from the train cartridge to the defend cartridge experiences no adjustment period, no surprise recoil, and no shift in muzzle rise. That consistency means the mechanical memory built during thousands of practice repetitions carries directly into a defensive scenario without any retraining required. Train and Defend fires a 147-grain bullet at approximately 950 feet per second, generating close to 295 foot-pounds of muzzle energy across both loads. Compared against CCI Blazer Brass, which drives a lighter 115-grain bullet at 1125 feet per second, Train and Defend produces a noticeably softer, heavier recoil impulse. Compared against Magtech Target Line at 1135 feet per second, the same pattern holds, since Train and Defend prioritizes recoil matching over raw velocity. One trade-off is a higher price point for the Defend hollow point component, since dedicated defensive ammunition costs more to produce than standard training rounds. Winchester designed this system specifically to close the gap between how a shooter trains and how a shooter performs when it matters most. Ranked first for its ability to translate repetition directly into readiness, Train and Defend represents the most complete solution to a problem most shooters never realized they were training around. Practice ammunition and defensive ammunition are not the same category, and closing that gap changes how a shooter actually performs under pressure. Which of these 5 rounds do you run through your own gun for practice? And does your training ammo match your carry ammo the way Train and Defend was built to do? Always follow your local laws regarding ammunition purchase and storage. If you want documentary-style breakdowns built on verified engineering research and manufacturing history instead of marketing copy, subscribing keeps this kind of analysis coming.